So for the change, today we are having a look at a very basic piece from an animator that is just getting started. So we can have a look at the things that he's doing correctly, incorrectly, and also most likely how to look at reference from a different perspective. So let's get started. Alright, welcome to another 10-minute review. My name is Harvey Newman and I like to share my passion for animation and games development here in this channel with all of you. This 10-minute reviews are all about me sharing the knowledge that I have here in my mind that I've gathered over the years, nearly 20 years now, and sharing with you and seeing things from my perspective and hopefully sharing the knowledge so you guys can get better in your own animations. Now, in today's video we have Neil. Neil's animation is from Animation Mentor, I believe, and he's been doing a really good job at trying to look at reference and then extrapolating the reference information into his own animation. And there's a few things that work really well and a few things that need to definitely be changed. So this is me giving Neil a little bit of peace of mind in terms of what is working well and what needs to be improved on. Now let's put 10 minutes on the clock. All right, so let's have a look at Neil's animation first. I am going to compare both sides so we can have a look from two perspectives. I also believe, Neil, that somebody already gave you feedback, most likely is your mentor, an animation mentor, which is great. It's really, really good feedback and I agree with everything that he mentioned. I'll try to add something on top of what has been said. All right. So we have a very simple jump. This, for those that don't know and are not animators yet, is one of the first exercises that you get to do. You have a bouncing ball and then you actually start working with bipeds and try to actually get their movement correctly as best as you possibly can. Now, Neil, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to show you a reference here as well on how you actually took reference of yourself jumping. And then this reference, obviously, you're trying to translate it to this animation, which is cool. Now, I have to preface this by saying that most animators, including myself, always make this mistake when we start, and is looking at a reference and trying to kind of replicate it slightly too close, and also not actually picking up on the main beats and the main information that really matters. So if you look at your animation here right at the beginning, you see that as it goes down and then it goes up, the timing is very even, right? As it goes up and goes down. So from frames 1 to 19, you see that he goes slowly down and then he goes up, right? But if you look at your reference, you'll see that as he's actually coming down, or you are coming down, you see that you have different timing. So it's almost like you're preparing yourself. So this information here that you're actually stepping, that is really important. It anticipates the moment that is coming later. So for you, for me as a audience, I want to see this little steps because to me it tells me that something is about to happen and then it happens, right? In your animation, you kind of remove that. So having these little steps help you a lot. And then when you go down, notice that like here you stay a lot on top and then you come down quite quickly and then you jump up, right? So it's almost like your spacing is very much like if this is a time chart, right? You are actually staying here for quite a lot and then you're quickly going down to then hit that bottom, this place here where you actually stay before you jump. So when you take a reference, you should definitely look at your animation or your video and draw over it. That's what I like to tell all my students, because if you draw over it, you'll start actually making notes such as like notice how long the hips take to actually get from here to about here, right? And then not only are you noticing the where they are in space in trying to copy the information, but also you're noticing how they are going from point A to point B. Things always favor something. There's always some type of favoring from going from pose to pose, and you need to find that favoring either before or after the pose to see how things are moving from one place to another. So definitely keep an eye on that. And then when you actually are going forward, you are actually slowly going forward before you actually do the big jump, right? So it's almost like you are anticipating the big jump before you do the jump. And here in your animation, I believe that you just go down and then you go forward, right? So you lose that momentum where you actually go down and then slightly forward and then jump, right? That movement that you actually go slightly forward and then you jump is getting lost in translation here. So another thing that is very important is for you to not only look at the timing and how you go from this pose to this pose, but also how you displace forward before you actually do the big jump, right? Now, before I go any further, I have to tell you something that I think that your reference is slightly you're not making the most out of the reference. And this is obviously, I'm saying this because I don't know what the premise was for your course for Animation Mentor, but when you actually do a jump like this, unless obviously they told you to do something very specific, like you have to jump with both feet exactly equally as distanced while you actually jump forward, and you need to fall with your feet exactly the same distance. Unless they told you to do that, nobody really jumps the way you just did now. You kind of had your little steps before you jumped, right? But it feels and it looks quite awkward to actually jump with both feet at the same time and then land with both feet at the same time. So instead of actually doing something that your body, if your body is telling you that it feels quite awkward to jump this way, then try and do it again in a way that feels natural, right? So try to kind of like relax yourself, and then without thinking much, try to actually go from this pose and then jump, and then try to finish the pose after the jump as natural as possible. And even if you can't, because you're stuck in a certain way of doing it, then try to actually get somebody else to do the jump. Just tell them very generically, go from this point to this point as fast as you can or as slow as you can, right? Just jump from here to here, jump. And that's generic enough for the person to just do it in a natural way without having all the animation things going through their minds. Because it's a mistake that we do a lot of the time in animation, is that we overthink the reference, because we are not only thinking about just making the movement, but your mind is already in Maya thinking about, I need to go from here to here because this is my environment or this is my character, and the character has this personality. So while you are doing the movement, you're thinking about all these things, which then skews the reference, right? And it makes it quite stiff, right? If it was me doing it, I think both feet coming out exactly at the same time and then posing the feet right at the end exactly at the same time feels slightly awkward, especially when it comes to the ending, because as you are jumping from one place to the other, you most likely have the feet actually hitting at different times, right? As soon as you actually kind of stop, your feet normally go boom, boom. It's very difficult for you to just go with both feet and just stop with both feet, right? Same thing here when you kind of like take off. Normally your feet actually have a little bit of like a one takes off before the other, in order to actually give you the sense that the feet are not twinning when you are jumping. So keep those things in mind as you go through. And then last but not least, here at the end, because you do such a big jump, notice how your hips, because you're really looking at this and this, right? This is basically your ball. Notice how your feet are straight at an angle, so it looks almost like you're about to fall if you were to stop in this frame. And then you actually go down quite a bit in order to recover from that fall, right? And then you actually go up. In your animation, in your scene, you basically just as soon as you get to this place, you're not really doing the whole hips are here, your legs are here like this, right? And then most importantly, your hips are not actually going down to about here as you are about to fall in order to recover from it. That then gives you an anticipation to then go up to this place here. Now those things are incredibly important, so definitely keep an eye on those things, right? Also the angle of the hips as you're going through here in your reference. When you take your reference, make sure that you annotate exactly where the hips are aiming at and the rotation of the hips as you are doing it, because here you can see that your hips are actually at different angles as you do different things. So see that even that angle is different from the previous angle that I annotated, right? And then same thing here, your hips at a certain angle, and then here in the end, same thing, right? So annotate those things that are important to you. Last note, definitely, you will obviously learn the more you do this thing about taking reference and then trying to get the animation. So don't beat yourself about not really noticing certain things, because I'm telling you these things because I've been doing this for a while, and most animators that have been doing this for a while will definitely be like, oh, obviously you're missing this, you're missing that. But from a new animator's perspective, when you're very green, it's very difficult to actually annotate and notice everything that is going on in the body, because there's so many things. And at the beginning, you don't really know what's important and what's not. So this is part of the journey. So this is basically me kind of telling you what I see and that you perhaps missed. But just know that this missing things is part of the journey as an animator, and you'll get better at it as you go through it and the years go past. Yeah, that's it. Really cool job, Neil. Keep it up. Really awesome. And for all those that would like their animation reviewed, then definitely jump into my Discord, join us in our Discord, and then start kind of sharing your animation clips with our community in the animation feedback channel. And then I will actually go through all the animations that have been submitted and all that stuff. I normally make a note to myself about things that I would like to review, and then I'll pick one and then I'll review it here in the channel for everybody to enjoy. And then hopefully you get to learn a few more things about the animation that you've done and how to change it and modify it and make it better and all that goodness, right? Now, can I go away without thanking my Patreons? Thank you so much for all the monthly support. If you guys would like to support me, definitely head over to Patreon. And if this was useful to you in any way, then definitely consider subscribing, hitting the like button, because it helps me a ton. And also, hit the bell button so you don't miss any more of this goodness in terms of reviews, because by you watching my reviews of others, there's always this thing that happens that you get to learn by seeing others' mistakes and then improving upon on your own animations. That's all I have. Until next week, stay well, stay safe. Peace.